Again, this is Innocent, your host. So we are still covering the CRDB medium-term note program that CRDB has issued to raise $300 million smart currency program, and we have covered the general introductions where we looked at the general information about the bond, where the money is going to go, how much they're going to raise, and the tranches of this bond. And then we took a look at the benefits of this bond. So if you're investing in this bond, what are you going to get as an investor, but also the benefits of this bond to the general economy. Also, we took a look at the first tranche, the pricing supplement for the first tranche that has been issued. So, and that is whose fundraising is going on by CRDB, our 40 billion shillings with a green shoe option of 15 billion shillings. And then, of course, the second section, we took a look at the risks in relationship to this bond program. First, looking at the general risks, and then, of course, the market risk and the program-specific risks. So today, we are going to take a look at about 3 or 4 parts of this bond program, of the information memorandum lady, and we're going to go in very quickly because some of this information are basically legal or not really so much important in that sense. So I will be very quick on these the upcoming sections really. So let's take a look at the terms and conditions of this bond program. So if you're going to be an investor in this particular bond, what should you know and what shouldn't you know, and what matters a lot in relationship to you becoming the investor, to CRDB specifically through this bond. So let's go. Yeah. So these are the terms and conditions, and I'll just read them through really. So the first part is the preamble, which basically says what this bond is about, and then there are definition of specific key terminologies in the terms and conditions, and then of course there is a form, denomination, a title, and specific currency, which basically refers to so what is the currency for any particular tranche, and specifically, for instance, in the first tranche, it is the Tanzanian shilling. So in terms of denomination, what the minimum amount that you need to invest in this particular bond, plus how much in terms of multiples do you need to be investing in? It's basically 10,000. Yeah, so this is what is contained in the forms, denomination, titles, and specific currency. And then, of course, there is a transferability of notes. So if you want to transfer these notes to somebody else, what do you need to know? What do you need to do? And in terms of status of these notes, so this refers to the seniority or juniority of the bonds. And by this we mean in terms of in case of liquidation, so who gets paid what, who gets paid when, with reference to the what is called the pecking order of the financing of the company. So if you are a senior security holder, if you're a senior bond holder, basically you get paid first before the junior bond holders. There are negative pledge and covenants. So this basically establishes the limitation of the mortgaging of assets established by these notes. And then, of course, there is an interest, and this covers basically how the interest is calculated, how is it determined, and whether or not it's fixed or floating. And then, of course, there is redemption, repurchase, purchase, and options. So this covers how whether or not this bond is can be repurchased by the issuer before its maturity, and how exactly is the redemption, which is basically the repurchase or you being paid your initial capital, is going to take place. And then, of course, the payment, which covers how and when the payments of the principal will be done, and how interest will be paid to the note holders. So the next part on the terms and conditions covers basically the taxation. So this establishes whether or not a staying tranche of this bond is tax exempt or not. Of course, also there is this prescription which covers the rule of the payments, and also establish the events of default. So in case CRDB, defaults on this bond, what happens, and who gets who gets what in terms of their rights. But also there's meetings of note holders and notifications. So this basically, by investing your money, you're becoming part and parcel of CRDB. So in case your obligations are not hammered, so what do you do, and what do you do as a note holder? So this part establishes whether or not note holders can hold meetings and hold the management, or management or directors or whoever accountable in relationship to the rights they have in the CRDB's future cash flows, as a result of them being the investors in the company. And then of course there is the other issues which and refer to this particular program. And then of course there are notices. How is the information going to be exchanged between the note holders and the CRDB? And this basically establishes the official, the official addresses of both parties in this agreement, and basically the addresses of the issuer, and this case CRDB, and the note holders. And then of course there's a governing law, which is the laws of the United Republic of Tanzania. So this is basically the terms and conditions. You may want to read them yourself for familiarity, but I just did kind of like a summary of what is in there. So after that, we move to taxes. So in terms of taxation, so the interest accrued from notes are exempted from income taxes as part of the current tax code. Now, this is in reference specific to the first tranche, the 40 billion and 15 million issue option, the first tranche. So depending on the tax code going forward, some of the tranches in the future might attract taxes. So you should know ahead of time that this is an exception. So the first tranche is an exception in terms of tax exemptions. So you shouldn't expect, probably, if you want to become a long-term investor in future tranches as well, you should know that the tax code might change, and therefore you should know that future tranches might be subject to taxation. But the interest accrued is the only income that is not taxable. But if there's capital gain tax, so if your bond is going to be, the bond's going to be listed on the Russian Stock Exchange, and therefore, because it's going to be a tradable asset, in case of capital gain, the capital gain is taxable as per the existing tax code. So you should know that. And then, of course, the stamp duties apply, of course, unless directed otherwise. And then, of course, you should understand that, if you are an investor from some of these countries, then Tanzania is party to, double taxation agreement with Zambia and Canada and the United Arab Emirates, just to name a few. And then, of course, there is a three-way tax treaty between Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda, signed but not yet enforceable. So these are some of the things you should be aware of, so that it doesn't come as a surprise to you in the future when the tranches that you want to invest in will be taxable, and you can begin to wonder, but the first one wasn't taxed. So the next up is subscription. So how do you subscribe? What is that you're going to be subscribing in? So the subscription itself. So this application procedure, you basically have to fill in the form and through the placing agent and lodge them as necessary. And cut-off time each day, of course, is 5 p.m. and this is the trading time for most business in Tanzania. So payment for the notes are as per the specific and the instructions from a particular pricing supplement. So the first one I shared with you, the 40 billion shillings with the 15 billion shillings green shoe option, has the cutoff time of the 23rd of October. So you should know that the future tranches will have their own specific dates as well. Then there's the selling restrictions, of course. The selling of this knot is compliant to the laws of Tanzania, and nothing has been brought up to indicate otherwise. So what is noted in the issuance of these bonds is basically compliance to the security laws in host countries, where all these notes will be issued or sold. And some of these countries include the UK, South Africa, and the US. But then, of course, these notes are going to be sold to the public in Tanzania, both at IPO, the current stage is an IPO, and in the secondary market, which is the recent stock exchange, where now any other person who wasn't able to participate in this current stage or in the IPO stage can actually come and invest, in this particular bond. So part 6 is, I think it's very important we take a look at the political and economic and sectoral stance, because you are investing in a company. So the entire company is an asset to you as an investor. So it's very important we take a look at the political, economic, and sectoral, standing as of now, so that you can just make an informed decision whether you want to invest in this particular bond or otherwise. So politics. So what do we have in store for politics? So this is according to the information memorandum, and it's proposed that there's a peace and security and stable policy environment, and I think that is the case. From the economic stance, Tanzania's economy has been growing quite very well for the last decade, including of course, there was a slowdown as a result of the COVID-19. Also, as a result of the ongoing conflicts in Europe, specifically in Ukraine. But inflation kind of shot up in 2022, and it has been brought under control and has been declining very fast. And it was 3.3%, in July 2023. So in terms of the banking sector, so M3 growth in 2022 was 12.2%, vis-a-vis 10% target. And as of May 23, M3 growth was money free growth was 17.5%, vis-a-vis 9.1% in the same month of the previous year. Now, for those of you who don't understand what M3 is, basically it's a measure of money supply in the economy, from money 1, money 2, money 3, money 3 being the most expanded money supply in the economy, which basically includes money in circulation, money in the banking sector, but also money in form of foreign currencies. The banking sector is adequately capitalized, and therefore CRDB is also one of these well-capitalized banks in the sector, and its capital adequacy was 19.3%, vis-a-vis 12.5%, which is the legislative cutoff. So the bank has adequate liquidity, and its liquid assets are basically above 10%, which is the minimum required, by Bank of Tanzania. So they have a 20%, more than 20% liquid assets against demand liabilities, and these basically are short-term deposits as well as checkable deposits. And then of course non-performing loans in the sector has been going down to 8.5% from 10.5% a couple of years ago. For the very first time in Tanzanian history, the combined banking profits, banking sector or banking firms really profits, exceeded 1 trillion shillings. And CRDB is one of the top two, profitable banks in Tanzania. So they are quite the significant contributors to the 1 trillion shilling mark in the profit share, of this industry. Yeah. So let us know if you have any questions. So we have taken a look at the terms and conditions of this bond. We have taken a look at the taxes, whether this bond, the income from this bond are taxable or not, and we indicated that the income, which is basically the coupons or interest, are not taxable, especially for the first tranche that is under issue right now. But then the capital gain tax, from the same is going to be taxable. And then we have taken a look at the subscription. So basically, how do you participate to invest in this particular bond? And we finalized on the economic and political stance of the country and the sector. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to respond to you. Thank you.